Hi, my name is Craig Werkheiser from My Artwork. Here's another hair tutorial done in Rebelle 7 Pro. Okay, let's jump right in. I have the canvas picked out and the guidelines from the reference photo. Here I added a structure, and this is at 30 times speed, so I'm moving right along. Just wanted to show you how I started painting. The structures I got from Tablet Pro's Rebelle 7 pack. You can see it creates these awesome swirls with the watercolor. Now I'm going to just let this time-lapse play out as you watch me paint the face. I would like to note that I'm using paper washi hemp, WH01. It creates really nice fibrous textures. Now for the lips, I'm using a flat brush. Also for the highlights, I used the dry brush because it has more texture. At this point in the painting, I decided to make a separate layer of the subject matter, and then I switched on Alpha Lock. This allows me to paint and not worry about going outside the lines. With the flat oil brush, I paint in the highlights of the body along with the structures of the hair, but that will get painted over later. I'm trying to keep as much of the textures as possible. Like, for instance, the back of her hair, I love the way it blended and faded into the background. So I'm going to keep some of that, but I tend to go a little crazy with the details sometimes. I'll try to hold off as much as I can before applying another layer over top. Now I'll switch back to the bristled brush, more watercolor, hoping to add more of the structured texture through the hair. Add more depth. Now I'll go under the sponge and hit texture and soak up some of the water that the watercolor brush created. I like the textures this creates. Switching back to the bristle brush at 76% water. It really started smearing everywhere and I kind of liked how cool it looked. And because the Alpha Lock is on, it stops perfectly at her arm so it doesn't blend into the background. Switching back to the oil brushes, I'm going to switch to the flat dry brush. This creates more of the strands of the hair. I'm blending it into the highlights. I'm also thinking about the movement of the hair and where the highlights are going to go. and the structure composition of the piece. I switch back to the watercolors because right here there's a divot in the hair where it gets darker, and I wanted to flatten that part out to the background, and I quickly dry that up. Switching to the grunge brush, I start drawing in some of the structures of the hair. I love the grunge brush, it's so smooth, very oily, but at the same time gets a lot of detail. Here I add a wash to the back of her hair just to blend it into the background. I just like the way it looked like she was coming out of a fog. So I try to minimize any kind of detail. Since I have the pigment selected under layers, I was able to blend really nice pinks into the highlights. Here I'm using flat dry brush number 2 to get some of the details in the highlights and blend it into the midtones. The time lapse is at 30 times speed because this is a 8-hour painting or so. It's sped up to 16 minutes. As you can see here, I start switching between the grunge brush and the flat dry brush. I really like the grunge brushes though. They add a lot of the hair strand effect that I'm after. So here's when I decided to make the layer a metallic layer by clicking the top right diamond in the layers palette. This creates a nice little sheen to all the hair strands. You can also adjust the shine of the metallic paint under visual settings, but I believe I just kept them as default here. So I decided to give the hard pastel brush a try. I think it's super cool because the brush strokes underneath have an impasto, meaning thicker paintbrush strokes. The hard brush is just applied to those thick parts, giving a almost fuzzy hair look. At this point I switched to the grunge brushes. I wasn't sure what vibe I wanted to go for, so I experimented with the top row, flipping back and forth between all the different sets of grunge brushes, trying to emphasize the fuzzy hair look. I was so drawn to the washi hemp canvas texture, and the hard pastel really brings it out. So I wanted to recreate that texture on the right side, cleaning up the watercolor splatters and made the arm more defined, but I didn't want to smooth out any unique canvas textures. I was really impressed the way the watercolor oozed onto her arm. It looked like her hair was floating off. So I decided to add a floating curl to make it even more magical. I created a separate layer for the curl and moved it to the top and gave it that extra sparkle by adding the metallic diamond symbol to the layer. I started with the bristle brush watercolor and then quickly switched to a variety of grunge brushes to add some texture. Speaking of hair, I thought this painting needed to be finished with the eyelashes, so I've chose Aaron Rutten's grass knife brush. I think it's really good for getting in detail of eyelashes or grass. Go figure. Okay, time for the signature, and wrong date. There you go, and there you have it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.